The Winds of New England, WNDS Dairy. WNDS Sports and Tri-State Megabucks present Candlepin Skins. It's bowling with a whole new twist as New England's best bowlers battle for cash prizes in every box. Candlepin Skins is produced in conjunction with the New Hampshire Candlepin Bowling Association. And now your hosts, Doug Brown and Dan Murphy.
Hi, everybody, and welcome once again to the Londonderry Bowling Center here in Londonderry, New Hampshire. Doug Brown and Dan Murphy as we welcome you into Candlepin Skins here on the Winds of New England. Glad you could join us as we begin another weekend. And Dan, last week we had kind of a wild finish. We had a great battle for second. Finally, Chris Boisvert wins it by 1 pin over Bill Hart. And then Bill Hart, who had been shut out all day for skins, had to go 3 extra boxes to finally win his first skin of the day.
Yeah, 9 seemed to be wild. We had the emphasis on the skins early in the match, then the total pinfall, and then on that last skin, almost like they forgot. No one wanted to win it.
So Chris Boisvert wins the battle for second place, and Chris will now be here for his 4th week in a row. John Plante was our overall pinfall winner, bowled very well last week, so he has returned. And they will be joined by Joe Ashline of Nashua, New Hampshire, and Rich Hallberg of Quincy, Massachusetts. And here's a rundown once again on how we operate here on Candlepin Skins. The bowlers compete individually, the 4 of them, 1 box at a time. The high score in each box wins the skin. That's the dollar value that is assigned to each box. The skins carry over if the high score is tied. For instance, if there are 2 spares in 1 box, that's a carryover, and the money adds up in the following box. Now, the top 2 finishers in total pinfall will return next week with an opportunity to gain more money. And here's the dollar amounts now for the skins. $10 each for the first 3 boxes of each game. The next 3 boxes of each game are worth $15. Boxes 7, 8, and 9 worth $25. And the 10th box worth $50. We bowl 2 games here on Candlepin Skins. Our 4 bowlers are ready, and we will get it started right after these messages. Don't go away. Back we are at the Londonderry Bowling Center, ready for another episode of Candlepin Skins. This one to be started by Chris Boisvert, who is on for his 4th consecutive week after squeaking out a 1-pin victory for second place last week. Actually, that's the first time in this sequence that Chris has not finished first. But second is okay. And on the second try, no. Rich Hallberg trying for a spare, and he's got it. 10 box for Chris Boisvert. Rich Hallberg spare. 1, 3, 6, and 7. Here's Joe Ashline. We'll try the 4 horsemen. John Plante, our big winner from last week. Joe cannot convert on the spare. And neither can John, so that first skin will go to Rich Hallberg for $10. Joe takes 10. And John takes 9. So the first skin to Rich, and we move to box number 2, also worth $10. Rich Hallberg working on a spare now. Off target. 5 fill. Big first ball for Chris Boisvert. Everything but the 6.
Nice little guide next to the 6, too.
And Chris picks up his first mark of the day with the single. Rich takes 9. that just missed the head pin, but it doesn't end up too badly for him.
Just the 1 and the 2 left. Joe Ashline will have the 6-10. And a piece of wood lying out in front.
John gets the spare, creating the carryover. And Joe gets it too. So 3 spares in the second. Box number 3 will be worth $25. Chris Boisvert to work on the spare after he cleans a piece of wood out of the channel.
Off target there. 6 on the spare. 1, 2, 7, 10 left. Now Hal just missing to the left.
Oh, Chris gives it a run. Not quite. $10 for Chris. 9 for Rich.
Joe and John both working on a spare in the second. Joe Ashline will roll first.
Right on the head pin flush for a 6 count. And 5 on John's spare now. Let's worry about the skin here. Right, 10 leads for the skin right now. Ooh. Joe was almost able to flip that over there. No. Well, if one of these guys can get a 10, there'll be another carryover. Joe does not. But John does, and there's the carryover. So the third box, or rather the fourth box, will now be worth $35. Just 3 pins separating our 4 bowlers. There was an error on the computer scoreboard on the fill for John Plante in the second. That will be corrected the next time you see it. Spare on the diamond leave for Chris Boisvert. And an 8 for Rich Hallberg. Let's take another look at the diamond. Second time in 2 weeks Chris has made this. Oh, big first ball, and John Plante touches them all for the strike. And Joe cannot quite match it, so give that $35 skin to John Plante. Joe does take the spare. Big ball from John Plante on lane 30. He has that kind of backup ball that goes left to right.
Chris Boisvert now working on the spare in fourth. Scores are extremely close early in the match. Just 5 for Chris.
Wow, Rich let that one get away, and he's going to have a shot at the spare. Oh, Chris makes another one. Rich off target. $8 for Rich Hallberg, 49 through 5. And here's the spare from Chris Boisvert.
Some help for the wood off the sidewall for the 9-pin. Joe Ashline working on a spare. John Plante working on a strike. Joe first.
No.
Hello.
John looking for a double. And he'll have to settle for the 3 and the 4. Give the skin to Joe Ashline for $15 here in the 5th.
3-4 left for John. Piece of wood should help.
Yes.
No problem. Spare on strike.
Marks galore here to start this match. As we get another look at Joe Ashline's strike on the way to our first break here on Candlepin Skins. We'll be right back. Rich Hallberg. Box number 6, game 1. Worth $15. I'll tell you what, Chris Boisvert just rolls right along. Nothing bothers him. Nice spare for Rich. His second mark. Chris Boisvert, the youngest of our 4 competitors, Dan, and he is so accustomed, I think, to this whole atmosphere now. It's just nothing bothers him anymore. It's just very ho-hum. You get another look at Rich Hallberg's spare. It's 3 marks in a row now for Chris Boisvert.
2 spares up. Both of these bowlers working on marks anyways. John a spare and Joe a strike.
Ooh. Looked like a better ball than that.
Joe can let fly with this one. He throws hard anyways. Looking for
Wow.
the double. Hello, 8-10.
How about those 2 leaves on 2 balls that look pretty good?
Another routine spare leave for both bowlers.
Ooh, John gave it a run. And of course, there's always a chance, as hard as Joe throws, that he could flip that curtain up to get a shot like that. He didn't that time, but... Two spares and 2 10s. The spares creating the carryover, and box number 7 will be worth $40. Chris Boisvert not only working on a spare, but he's got 3 spares in a row. And very well may have another one.
I'd say the possibilities are pretty good.
Rich Hallberg fills his spare with 5. Number 4 in a row for Chris Boisvert. Oh, nice try for Rich. He'll have to settle for the 10.
There you see it. Chris Boisvert, 98 through 7, plus a bonus ball to come on that spare in the 7th. Joe Ashline on lane 30. He's at 84 already.
Oh, there's a strike. Second strike of the day for Joe. 1 on each lane now. And watch out. Almost a carryover on strikes, but give the $40 skin to Joe Ashline. Ooh, I believe that slipped into the channel.
I absolutely didn't see it. I was putting the skin up. I didn't get a chance to look at that, Doug, to tell you the truth.
Well, I'll tell you what, we're going to mark that down as a spare for John Plante, and we will check it during the next break. It will not affect the skin because Joe Ashline had already won it. Not quite for Rich. Chris Boisvert looking for number 5 in a row. And he's got it. Nine for Rich Hallberg. That shot by John Plante in the previous box, I think all of us looked away at the same time. But if it is a spare, he's working on the fill right now. And it's 9. Joe Ashline filling a strike. John has to be careful here. He goes right around the wood for the spare. Joe will take 8 on the strike. And a 10. Joe the overall leader at the moment, but that's going to change, as you see, probably with, well, actually, it already has changed. Chris Boisvert with the spare already leading. Looking for his 6th mark in a row, and this time he missed the headpin, just 2.
Rich has a 610, piece of wood next to it.
And
too far left.
Does not carry. Chris has to take a 6 box. This 9th box worth $50. And it's wide open right now. Joe Ashline with the 4 horsemen plus the 8. John Plante on a spare. Goes right through the heart and carries 6. He was fortunate to get that many. It looked like it was going to be a spread eagle. For Joe, and that creates a carryover. 8 for John. So this 10th box will now be worth $100. And Rich Hallberg checks in first with a strike. Pretty good time to throw your first strike of the day.
Absolutely.
And Chris cannot quite convert. He gave it a pretty good run, though. Chris takes a 10 and a 133. Rich will stay up there now to fill his strike. He's at 103 plus 2 balls to come. And it'll be a 9. On the fill for 112. But that's only going to be good enough for 4th place after 1 game. So Rich will have to come from behind. John Plante now. Joe Ashline. So give that $100 skin to Rich Hallberg with that big strike in the 10th.
Nice try by John Plante on the triangle plus the 7-pin.
Spare for Joe. John will take a 10 for a 124. And Joe Ashline, most likely, is going to be our overall pinfall leader if he can get at least 2 on this spare. I always hesitate when I say something like that, but Joe came through for me with a big 4 fill. Enough to take the lead at 136. The score's close, though, after 1 game, and we'll be back on Candlepin Skins in a minute. All right, first of all, our customary halfway check on the winnings. Rich Hallberg got that big $100 skin in the 10th, so he has the overall money lead at this point. Chris Boisvert is going to lead off game 2, and he's still looking for his first skin of the day. But let's make a quick check on the scoreboard here, just to show you that John Plante has now a 124 in that opening game, not 134. We went back and checked the tape during the break, and in fact, that single pin in the 7th, it was a 10-pin with a piece of wood in front of it and some room in the channel, and John's ball left the lane and hit the piece of wood in the channel before it hit the 10-pin, but the important thing is the ball left the lane before it hit the piece of wood in the channel. So
it does not have to come in contact with the channel. It does not have to fall into the channel because the speed will prevent it from doing that. Most people think that, well, it left the lane, but it didn't hit the gutter.
Right.
Well, it's not the case. Once it leaves the lane, it's dead without hitting something in play.
So we did go back and check that. So that negated a spare. It did not affect the skin because Joe Ashline had won the skin in that box with a strike. And so what it did was took 10 pins off John's score. So he's now at 124 and starting this second game in third place rather than in second. Rich Hallberg gets a spare to start game 2. Fresh off that big $100 skin win at the end of game 1. Joe Ashline. He can make this. Nope, a little too full. Nine for Joe. The two pinfall finishers, top two pinfall finishers, will return next week, and they will be joined by Don McCucci and Dave Richards. John bouncing right back, but a tough leave here. The 6 and the 8.
Well, you know, he's got a couple pieces of wood. I think if he hits the left-hand one on the red line, it might push the other one toward the 6-pin. Ooh, going a little too low.
You could tell by the sound that John lost control of that ball when he let it go. So that gives Rich Hallberg another skin. This one worth $10, and the 6 and the 8 are still there. John will take an 8. Chris Boisvert back on the head pin again, and it looked like he spun that 4-pin a little bit, but it didn't go down.
Had a great first game, including what, 4 marks in a row, 5 marks in a row, and he yet to win a skin.
Oh, just gets enough of that one to knock it over. That will be mark number 7. All spares for Chris Boisvert. Rich Hallberg working on a spare. Trying to come from 4th place here. He's not that far behind, though. Looking for another one.
Yes! Oh, wow. Took a little time. Looked like the 10-pin was going to stay up, 7 and a 10. 7 finally goes, and then the 10. Slow motion. Joe Ashline looking for the strike to win the skin. That close.
Joe just waiting for that piece of wood to settle down. And now firing at the 10 for the spare. 3 spares across here in the second. Ooh, and John gets just the 2-pin. Pretty nice recovery shot, but he's left with the 7, 8, and 9.
Make it an 8. Pair of 8s for John starting this 3rd game and 3rd position. Joe Ashline, as you can see, leading the way, but Chris Boisvert working on a spare, as is Joe. Rich in 4th place. He is also working on a spare. Score's going to be close.
Chance for another for Chris.
2, 4, and 5. Triangle.
No, he's got it. A little help from the backside.
Looked pretty good going in the 2 and the 5, but took a little time with the 4 right there. Now, Rich is working on a pair of spares. Making a strike.
Strike on spare. Three marks in a row for Rich Hallberg to start game 2. And he may win another skin unless either Joe or John can have it with a strike. Joe gets 6 on his spare. Wow. Holy mackerel. Is everything okay down there? Not sure. Look for shards of pins down there. $10 for Joe. Here's that second shot.
Watch him jump up in the air. Everything jumps. The ball comes back.
John Plante with a chance for a strike, and he won't get the wobble on the 10. So another skin for Rich Hallberg. This one worth $20. John would love to have just a spare, and he misfires on that. John's watching everybody else mark here in this second game, and he hasn't been able to put one up yet. Takes the $10 this time. The fourth box worth $15. Chris working on another spare. Comes up short this time. Just 5. I would not be surprised if he made this. Nope. Try to go for the inside route. Tries it again. Tried the same route again. Takes a $5. Rich Hallberg working on a strike and on 3 marks in a row.
Closing in on the leaders. Watch out. Coming forward. Misses the head pin, but leaves just that pin standing. Trying to make it 4 in a row.
Yes, sir. Well, Rich had only 3 marks in all of game 1. He's got 4 in a row here to start game 2. Wow. How do you hit the head pin like that and knock just 3 pins out?
And leave one of them right there. As hard as Joe throws.
Seems impossible.
Is that a marshmallow Joe or what? Did you throw a bowling ball down there? Come on, tell us the truth.
And a 7 box. A very strange box for Joe. And a very important box right here for John Plante. And he gets the kick out on the 7 pin.
6-10, piece of wood out in front.
And after missing the single in the previous box, John bounces back with a spare. That creates carryover also.
Spares up for Rich and John, which creates that carryover.
$30 skin here in the 5th now. Chris is off target, but not too bad. The 1, 7, and 9.
Not something you'd want to make a living at shooting for spares, though. Difficult.
Oh, my. I had a feeling that wood there might help, and it did, but he missed the object. So it'll go as a 10. Rich Hallberg on fire here. That time a little too full. Just 4 on the spare fill. Rich has made up some ground, though.
Climbs to win 1 pin of Chris Boisvert. And if Joe was not to mark, he would be ahead of Joe by a pin or 2.
Big first ball, and there it is.
If Joe were not to mark, but Joe does mark.
Well, so that's how funny this game is. That box that he had the last time, and now this one, which looked like it could have been the 5-7 right there. And then all of a sudden, it's a strike. And it's a $30 skin also for Joe Ashline.
And just 3 fill on John's spare, missing the head pin to the left.
Oh, boy. And a 5 box for John. We will take a break and be back with the last 5 boxes of this match on Candlepin Skins in a minute. Chris Boisvert, right now the pinfall leader, but as of this moment there are only 2 pins between first place and third place. Big ball, and it's a strike.
Getting bigger all the time.
Wow. First strike of the day for Chris Boisvert.
Big 8-pin drop right here. What's going to help the 6-10? Well, there goes the 10. 10 stays in play for the 6.
And now Rich Hallberg. And he's got a bit of a comebacker for the spare leave. Ooh, missed the 3-pin. So it's a 10.
You see the totals at the bottom. 1 pin separating Rich and Chris, although Chris is working on a strike. Joe Ashline working on a strike now, which should put him in the lead, at least temporarily, until Chris gets up there.
The 1, 3, 7, and 9. Joe didn't get quite enough of the head pin. And he'll take a 9. So the strike for Chris Boisvert leads for the skin, which is worth $15, and John Plante could really use a mark.
Not going to be an easy one. 2, 4, 6, and 10. Piece of wood in between the 6 and a 10. Concentrate on grabbing the 2-pin. And that's all he did.
Give the skin to Chris Boisvert for $15. His first skin of the day. John takes 9. This one did not take any time at all.
No, that was one of the quicker ones. You see the extension there. 1-3 pocket, 3/4 on the head pin. 4 and 10, the last 2 to go down, but the big double strike. Opportune time for Chris going into the final 4 frames in a dogfight for first, second, and third.
And a nice 10 box for Rich Hallberg. Joe Ashline can maintain second place without a mark. But this is a very, very close race right now.
Diamond leaf 2, 5, 6, and 9. Piece of wood in between, which is a tremendous help with this leaf. Oh, Joe missed the object pen. You heard it.
He called it.
He was not happy with himself for that one.
And it's a 9. He's still second, but only by 5 pins.
John Plante's going to be considered here in the final totals. He's got to put a mark up now.
And
there it is.
Gets a strike. Not only important pinfall-wise, but also creates the carryover with Chris's strike.
Well, this ball right here for Chris Boisvert could be the difference of coming back and not coming back next week. Working on a double strike, a huge ball.
And
Just
only
4.
4. Eight fill on the second strike.
Still going to help, but it could have been done a lot more damage than it's going to do. He works out with a 9.
A $50 skin here in the 8th, by the way. We're trying to keep track of both that and the pinfall situation, which is very, very tight.
The thing for Chris is that he's ahead of the field, so 2 out of the other 3 fellows have to pass him. Gives him a little bit of an advantage there. Rich still much in it, just trailing Joe Ashline by 5.
Well, how about this leaf? The 2, 7, 8, and 10 with wood scattered everywhere.
He's going to just blast through the wood on the 2-pin and leave the 8 and 10. I thought he'd get a little better chance of making all 4 of them with that, but it's not to be. And he'll be open, giving Joe Ashline. You can't give Joe Ashline too many chances at you. That's 4 open frames now for Rich. Don't forget, John Plante's working on a strike. If he were to get up and throw a double, he'd be right back in it.
Oh, big first ball that time. Somehow the 5 pin stayed up. And that piece of wood right there is in play.
It certainly is.
It's hanging out over the edge of the plate. From our angle, it looks like Joe has room to get by it, but it's going to be very, very tight.
It's going to play the wood.
Now, why not? Have to replace that pin. That pin is now broken. It's got to be. Spare leads for the skin for Joe.
It's almost, John almost has to throw a double, at least another mark.
Now they'll have a shot at one here. The 1, 2, and 7. John from Manchester, New Hampshire. He and his wife Valerie expecting their first child in September. And no luck on the 7 pin.
Ball deflected away by the wood.
$10 for John. And as you see, he's 18 pins out of second, plus Joe has a spare working. So, by the way, that $50 skin goes to Joe Ashline in the 8th. Don't want to forget about that. Now a $25 skin in the 9th. Chris trying to throw that into the corner, didn't work. And that'll be a 9 box.
It's come a critical point for Rich, too. Needs a mark.
Big first ball. Leaves the 5-pin. Had to have that.
Keeps his hopes alive.
Yep, had to have that to have any chance.
Now he needs a little help from Joe. Joe will be working on a spare.
And getting just 2.
That's the help that Hal needed. Rich. Hal.
Been watching 2001 again?
Yeah, I guess I have. Ooh, and
just 6. Oh, my.
That really changes the picture of things.
Sure does. It makes it advantage Rich Hallberg right now.
Two, 4, 6, 10 left for John Plante, and it's just about a must now. He's got to put a mark here, or he'll. Well, it kind of eliminates him for the total pinfall race.
It also gives Rich Hallberg a $25 skin here in the 9th. Rich is still our skins money leader now, $165. And we go to the 10th, worth $50, the final skin of the day, and it will also determine who's coming back next week. Chris Boisvert will be back next week. We know that already, as he keeps his run alive. Next week will be 5 weeks in a row for Chris.
Let's assume that Joe doesn't throw like a double strike or something in the 10th. That'll make sure.
It.
Yeah. In case there was any doubt, Chris says, I better get this mark. Splits the 1 and the 3. Head pin goes down, takes out the 7. Gives him 260 for a 2-game total plus this ball.
And add 7 more. A 134 to go with his 133 opening game, and Chris Boisvert just keeps rocking right along. Now the battle for second will be decided between Rich Hallberg and Joe Ashline.
Huge ball for Rich right now. Just on a spare. Oh boy.
Just 5.
Get a break from Joe, and Joe threw 2. Now he gives it right back to Joe with just 5. You don't want a bad box. Got to force Joe to make a mark.
If he gets 2 of these, he will force Joe to get a 10 to tie him. And there it is. 2 important pins right there. 130, 242, 2-game total for Rich Hallberg. So you see it. It's a 10 box for Joe Ashline to tie for second, in which case we would have a roll-off. Oh, Joe throws that explosive first ball, and he's got a spare leave.
The 6-10. No wood for Joe.
Look out. Oh, my. Now he's got to have this pin to force a roll-off for second place. And he's got it. 106, 242. So we know we're going to have extra bowling here. The question is, will it be just to decide second place, or will it be to decide a skin also? John Plante can have it if he converts this. Have the skin, that is. No. That won't be enough, I don't think, to get over there. Nope. So the final skin of the day, a $50 one, goes to Chris Boisvert. A 10 for John Plante, and we will take a break here on Candlepin Skins. When we come back, Rich Hallberg and Joe Ashline, a 1-box roll-off to decide second place. We'll be back in a minute. All right. the last skin has been decided. We have extra bowling this time because we have a tie for second. If there were a tie for first, we wouldn't need to do this. It's a one-box sudden death roll-off. The bowlers will stay up there to fill any marks they get, and they both have spare leaves. Rich Hallberg first. And he misfired and did not convert. Joe Ashline gets the spare, and Rich is going to concede it. So Joe Ashline will finish second with the spare in the extra frame. We'll be back to wrap it up on Candlepin Skins in a minute. And welcome back to Candlepin Skins for the second week in a row. Just a terrific battle for second. Last week it was 1 pin differential, and today we needed extra time.
That's right. It seems like overtime is in order each of the last few weeks anyways, and it's exciting. That's the Skins game is one game, and then we still have that Candlepin bowling in the other aspect of the game.
All right. Meanwhile, Chris Boisvert, no big surprise there. That's been the one constant for the last several weeks. He just rolls on.
The only surprising thing is he only picked up 1 skin, I believe, and he bowled terrific the whole match.
Well, let's check the final totals now for this one. First of all, in total pinfall, again, Chris Boisvert on top, 267, third time in the last 4 weeks that he's been our overall pinfall leader. Joe Ashline winning the one-box playoff against Rich Hallberg to decide second place, and John Plante just was never really able to get it together. Now, for skins consideration, Rich Hallberg, second week in a row that a guy who has not advanced winds up as the overall skins prize money winner. Joe Ashline close behind. John and Chris both getting on the board as well. But as you mentioned, Chris, well, of course, Chris bowling in that first spot too, the first spot in the order, which makes it a little tougher to win skins. If you put marks up there, they're good for your pinfall count, but you have to hope that nobody else does.
Yeah, he seemed to put the pressure on everybody right off the bat, though. He put a lot of marks up, but his timing was just a little off with the marks, I guess.
Well, we will be back next week. Chris Boisvert will be back for his 5th consecutive week with us. Joe Ashline will be back as well, and they will be joined by Don McCucci from Newmarket, New Hampshire, and Dave Richards of Plastow, New Hampshire. Now, a couple of quick reminders. First of all, tomorrow we will have Stars and Strikes, as always, here on the Winds of New England at 12 noon from Park Place Lanes. Don't forget, the Tri-State Megabucks Tournament of Champions begins 1 week from tomorrow, a week from tomorrow at 12 noon. And once again, that'll be, of course, from Park Place. And don't forget, 4 weeks from today, as we move into May, we move into state tournament time. And beginning on Saturday, May 11th, our 4-week state championship series begins as well.
That's right, and it's a different format this year. It's a 6-game total, so the match will be carried over two consecutive weeks, which is going to make it a little interesting.
And we will be having more word on that in the coming weeks. So don't forget, tomorrow we will get our final qualifier for the Tournament of Champions, 12 noon at Park Place Lanes. Dan and I hope you will join us then. In the meantime, for all of us here at Londonderry Bowling Center, I'm Doug Brown. Have a good weekend. Thanks, everybody.